music and this generation, pop culture, and how the music doesn't have that exposure anymore. Your advocacy for the music and also, you know, being able to share with the youth, you know, your education, the things you've done with Jazz Aspen and the Monk Institute, and now with Jazz House Kids. You know, talk about how, you know, how beautiful is it to see these kids embrace the music, play the music at a high level at such a young age, but also be able to then pay it forward themselves to their peers, so they can get more, you know, so we can have more listeners, younger listeners. Talk about that.
Well, you know, the reason I got into jazz education by accident, I got asked by the Berklee College of Music to come up and do a series of 6 workshops. And they said you can shape it any way you want to, you can program it any way you want to.
How were you at that time?
This was in '98, so 26.
Oh wow.
And I thought, man, you know, I feel strange because I'm thinking most of the people I'm going to be talking to aren't that much younger than me, you know, and I'm sure if there's some grad students there, they might be older than me. You know what I'm saying? I gotta
think they know more, you know.
Right. And I'm thinking I gotta go do workshops for them. Oh, this is gonna be deep. What do I do? You know. But what happened was I started to remember when I was 14, 15 years old, and I would go to workshops, and you know, I would see Bobby Watson lead a workshop, where I would see Kenny Barron or Red Rodney or Grover Washington Jr. lead a workshop. And I thought the main reason, like one of the main reasons that I got into this music and had all this great inspiration is because these musicians, like knowing what I know now about being on the road, those guys really went out of their way to give their time to come and do these workshops and talk to us young musicians coming up. They really didn't have to do that. And we still would have been inspired by their recordings, and we still would have strived to get better. But for them to come to us and have a one-on-one conversation, you know, person to person, eye to eye, that meant so much to me that I thought that if I am ever in the same position, even if I kind of don't really know what I'm doing, even if I'll just say something like just tell them stories about being on the road and what I've experienced as a musician, and hopefully give someone the kind of inspiration that those cats gave to me, I'm going to do it, no questions asked. So once I started thinking about that, I was able to kind of put a loose kind of thing. I don't even remember what I did up at Berklee, but they kind of liked it. Word started to get around, and I got asked to start doing more educational outreach things, you know, workshops and clinics and things of that nature. Then in 1999, I was asked to become the artistic director of Jazz Aspen's summer program. And
I've seen those on BET, those episodes.
That's right, that's right. And that same year, I was asked to be the artistic director of the University of Richmond's summer jazz program.
Spiders.
That's right, that's right. They gave me a football jersey as a present.
Oh, wow, and, Tim Hightower.
That's right. And so I love being a part of being able to pass on this information to these young musicians coming up on the scene, because they just have to know that it can be done.
That's right.
You know what I mean? If you shed hard, if you're professional and you do the very best you can at all times, it can happen.
That's right. That's right, and then paying it forward, because that makes you a better musician.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I always tell my students, I learn as much from you.
Absolutely, that's right.
From me.
That's right.
Definitely.
And that's why Miles Davis, Art Blakey, Betty Carter, Ray Brown, Milt Jackson, all these, Sonny Rollins, all these legends, they keep young musicians around them because they want fresh ideas. They want fresh energy.
Yes.
They want to find out new ways to do old things. You know what I mean? And that's the way of the world. You know, I actually don't know if there's anything, you know, because people always talk about handing down, keeping on the tradition. That kind of happens even if you don't try. I mean, there's a certain practicality about it. You know, it's just like, well, at some point you're gonna have to call younger musicians, even if you don't want to. You know, because musicians of your peers, they might want to do other things. They got other projects going on, and you know, you're going to be forced to deal with what the younger cats are doing.
Right, or those older cats get sick. You know,
yeah, that too.
That's the thing. And one question I want to ask you. I've thought about this a lot over the past 10 years. You have musicians that were the direct link to Louis Armstrong, and Charlie Parker, and Duke Ellington, and Count Basie, and Benny Goodman, and Lionel Hampton, cats like that. Those people are leaving us now. So, what is your take on the generations to come? You know, the next generation, the generation after that. How tough will it be to be able to maintain the authenticity of the stories and the memories that we hear of the Louis Armstrong?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do know that this is part of that lineage. This is part of that tradition. You know, the guys who played directly with Louis Armstrong are leaving us, but then there's the guys who played with the guys who played with Louis Armstrong. So I'm sure a lot of those stories and a lot of those moments, they will live on forever. Now, in terms of the authenticity of it, who knows? I mean, because there are stories that happen in our own generation while we're here that get twisted around.
I know, you got some telepathy on a couple of those.
Exactly, you know. So, but I think those legacies, that history is so strong. Like, for example, I never got to play with Art Blakey, and I wanted to play with Art Blakey more than anybody else on the planet. I never got to play with Miles Davis. I wanted to play with Miles Davis, but I did play with Freddie Hubbard, who played with Art Blakey. I did play with Bobby Watson, who played with Art Blakey. I did play with Benny Golson, who played with Art Blakey. So I feel like I kind of got, not only did I get to play with those three giants, but they taught me the things that they learned from Art Blakey. So I got it from Art Blakey kind of secondary. You know, I got to play with Herbie Hancock. I got to play with Tony Williams, rest his soul. Wayne Shorter, Chick Corea, Jack DeJohnette. They played with Miles Davis. So I get to hear and feel that energy from Miles through them. You know, so because of that, there's always this lineage that will always continue. You know, but I hear what you're saying about it, especially like the stories and things like that. That's why shows like this is important. You know, you document it. You know what I mean? That's why those interviews with Louis Armstrong, and you know, that's why it's a shame that there's been a period where so many great artists haven't been able to speak their piece, or they haven't been appreciated by the mass media to be able to tell their story and to have their story properly documented in the first person. You know, so that's why something like this is so important.
So thank you for that.
Hey, it's the truth.
I'm gonna try to keep
I try to do my part also on my radio show. You know,
and talk about that radio on XM.
Yeah, it's called The Lowdown Conversations with Christian, and I have a couple of shows in the can. My first season, I had Chick Corea on the show. I had Lou Donaldson. I had Roy Hargrove. I had Bill Charlap. I had Angelique Kidjo. I have Quincy Jones all queued up, ready. We recorded it in Europe last year, and my concept for the show is let me back up a little bit. You remember a book by Art Taylor, Notes and Tones?
Right, yes.
It's a series of musician-to-musician interviews that were done in the early 70s, and it's so inspiring to me because A.T. realized that for me to ask Miles Davis a question is different from a writer asking Miles Davis a question. You know, because we know the same language. We've been out there in the trenches together. I know what to talk to him about, and Miles is going to answer me different than he would just a regular reporter from Downbeat. So that's my concept when I've had these great artists on my radio show. Now, somebody like Lou Donaldson, for example, who I believe is 85 now, I think.
Almost 90, near 90.
Yeah, and same thing with Roy Haynes. I haven't had Roy Haynes on the show yet, but people should know not only that they're great artists, all you got to do is listen to their recordings, but their stories, you know, like who they are, you know, to be able to bring out something in their personality as a musician, by me being a musician, that I know a writer couldn't bring out. You know, like for example, Lou Donaldson. You know, I'm always talking about Lou. Lou is like the Don Rickles of jazz. You know, he insults everybody. And it's funny. It's all love. Exactly. So I'm thinking, well, now I know if a journalist or a writer or a DJ asks him to do that, he probably won't do it. But by me,
they'll twist it around.
They'll twist. Hello. You know what I mean? Now, by me asking him, I don't even have to say nothing. I'll say something like, you know, Lou, tell me about the One Night at Birdland record. You know, with you and Art Blakey and Cliff. That was my band. Art Blakey put that band together, you know, and then he just starts rolling.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Like he's saying, that was
all them cats, you know what I mean? It's just like, so I like doing stuff like that with these wonderful musicians. I want to get everybody on the show. It's obviously very important for me to get a lot of the elders on the show because they're not going to be here forever. You know what I mean? Yes, so I'm glad I got somebody like Quincy who's going to be 80 next year. That's
right, 1933.
That's right.
Yeah, March.
You know, exactly, exactly. So Quincy Jones turns 80 next year. Roy Haynes just turned 87 this year. Lou's 85. You know, so I really want to get a lot of those cats in there, you know.
Wow, it's amazing. That's right. Those are cats that our young generation, the youth, need to know about.
That's right.
You know, it's important that
and hear them and see them before it's time for them to make the next journey.
That's right.
You know.
That's right. And be able, like my father will always say, you know, God has a hell of a band up there.
That's right. That's right. That's right.